Home inspections are seriously one of the most important parts of buying a house. Today, we stopped by one of our properties that's under contract to check in during the inspection. We chatted with Phil from Wise Home Inspections and asked him a few questions. He dropped some really helpful tips that every buyer should know, especially if you're out there house hunting right now.
Major red flags that for an inspection, you want to watch out for, bad moisture issues or mold. Also, electrical panels. There are a lot of old panels that insurance companies won't cover. I mean, they can always be changed out, but you just have to need to allow for that. And if you're buying a home before 1976, a major issue is cast iron drain pipes. And most of those are nearing the end of their life, and we really recommend you have a sewer scope inspection, because if you have to replace them, it could be $20,000-$30,000. Sometimes they can line them, but that's still fairly expensive. So they're some of the major things to look out for an inspection. And of course, structural. We don't find that many structural problems in Florida, but sometimes we do find significant settlement and cracking in some of the walls. I always recommend that the buyers pay special attention to their air conditioner. The air conditioners, the drain lines tend to clog up over time, so I always recommend you put some vinegar or some chlorine tablets in the drain line every month to help stop them from blocking up. But also make sure you have an HVAC guy come out once or twice a year and do a service, and they'll blow that line clear. The other thing for maintenance is wood rot. I mean, we're in South Florida, there's lots of moisture, lots of rain, so very common for houses to have wood rot. And wood rot is just going to get worse, and it can also create a great environment for termites. Yeah, I mean, every home inspection is going to have a bunch of items on there. Usually most of them you're going to find a maintenance issue, so typical things that can be taken care of relatively easily. The big things you want to watch out for, again, one thing I didn't mention before is roofs. I mean, you always want to check how old the roof is. It's something people often don't think about, but roofs in Florida, last 20 to 30 years. So if you've got an older roof, you need to budget for repairs, and if it's over 20 years, you're probably going to pay a premium on your insurance. Well, of course, you've got all the smart home stuff now, which can be very useful, and a remote control thermostat for your air conditioner, especially if you're not going to be living in the house all the time, so you can see what's going on. Sometimes I see people, the air conditioner's failed, and then the home gets full of mold because there's no air conditioning running. Obviously, impact windows. If you have an older home, it's a big benefit to put in impact windows. Very expensive, but definitely provides extra security, extra comfort, as well as protection from hurricanes and insurance discounts. I'm just going to verify, record that everything's working with the infrared camera. Check behind the washer and dryer, make sure there's no issues. Scan with the infrared camera. Looking for any temperature anomalies that might indicate a roof leak or a water leak, and then on the panel, make sure there's nothing overheating on there. Electrical panel has been updated, so that's good. A lot of the older panels not always reliable, and it's all been labelled. And then we want to make sure there are no double tap wires where there's two wires under one screw, which is a very common thing.
Awesome.
And we want to make sure that the grounds and neutrals aren't connected. We do have a wire here that's a little bit strange. It should only be grounds. We don't know what this one is. It's not marked, so that's probably It may need to be, should only be a ground wire, so it needs to be checked. Water heater, looking for the age of it. If it's more than 15 years old, a lot of insurance companies won't insure it. And then the other thing you want to look for are signs of rust. You can see the blue's alright, that's just oxidation, but underneath that you can see a little bit of rust starting to happen. But the biggest concern looks like it's pretty old. I'm sure it's at least 15 years old. It's a pretty old unit, so and this pipe, the discharge pipe, is undersized. This is 3/4 inch and that's 1/2 inch. And the other thing is, it's plugged in, these should be hardwired. Sometimes these get very, very hot if they don't have a great connection. So that should be hardwired there. It's hard to work out the age of this one. Such an old serial number. I'm guessing it's probably 24 years old. Okay. Well, again, we're looking to see how old it is, looking for any signs of water damage. Make sure it has a float switch here. When it sits on plywood, often you get a lot of moisture seeping through onto there. Also looking to make sure there's no mold around the edges. It's properly sealed. I mean, it really shouldn't be connected to the garage, because if you have a fire in the garage, the fire can get up through there unless it's done properly. It's only 3 years old, so that's good. Now this is an interior door. We really want a fire rated door going from the garage into the house, and I always like to recommend self-closing hinges so the door always stays closed. That way you don't get exhaust fumes blowing into the house, and it also acts as a fire barrier. We do have an impact rated door. Okay. Look out for the sticker. You don't always have it, but this one does. Don't have any motor for it though. And same for fire safety, the attic hatch was recommend you have a fire rated attic hatch, because the garage is the most likely place for fires to start. So you have a lot of hidden problems in the attic that people never see, like spliced electrical wires that aren't in junction boxes. Sometimes you have dryer vents exhausting into the attic. Lots of older homes don't have enough insulation. You could have roof leaks, termites, all sorts of things. So I can get my wind mitigation pictures, check the hurricane straps and the roof to deck nailing. Okay. Some of these older homes don't have 3 nails in the hurricane strap, so this one fortunately does, because you need three nails to get your hurricane discounts. Okay. So checking all the plumbing, making sure we have proper GFI outlets, making sure we have proper drain pipes and no leaks. Making sure the drain stops work. Check the water temperature often, especially when a house has been remodeled. The mixing valve may not be set properly and you don't get a very hot shower. So the water's nice and hot. Okay. All draining well. So we're all good. Just filling up the tub so we can make sure the jets work on the jacuzzi. Smoke alarms in the bedroom, so that's good. Have to check for moisture under all the windows. Just checking for moisture, because a lot of times you'll have windows that are leaking. Shall we check all the outlets, make sure there's power and make sure they're wired correctly? Even though there's power, sometimes they're not wired properly. So they're all good. Checking that it's heating, so it's working pretty well. We're getting 85 degrees coming out of there, 90 degrees. Making sure we've got cold air blowing out of all of them. So the range hood for the kitchen, it's just foil. It should be solid metal, and it's blowing out the side there. It should be blowing out the check and make sure the see if we can. There should be a meter here. We want to make sure the meter's not turning, so there's no, to help make sure there's no water leaks. Because some old homes, they get little leaks in the pipes, but I'm not seeing the meter under here. Well, just about everything's been updated in the last 3 or 4 years. So, like all the appliances were done, I think, 2020, 21, AC 2022, roof 2022. You know, so that's great. Your just the water heater is pretty old, probably over 20 years old. So I definitely want to change that out. Make sure you don't have any issues. And also for insurance, you got impact windows all the way around, so that's great for insurance. You got the hurricane straps. So. And then the other safety thing is range hood exhaust needs to be corrected. But overall, it's in great shape. Yeah. My pleasure.